enough of that. Let's get to it. Here's time for the show. 5,
Enrique Iglesias, Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide.
Let's go. Welcome, each and every one of you. Like that? Feel mighty real. Oh yeah, you gotta love a bit of disco, haven't you, eh? We're on WeGU number 13. My word, 13 weeks of this stuff. Thank you for joining me. My name's Donato, aka the Reluctant Guru. So here we are, week 13, and of our weekly update. And it's been an amazing week. We're in a new month now. It's August, and I've been publishing this a little bit earlier than normal in the week because of work commitments and so on. This will probably be appearing on the Wednesday night, I think. So here we are, we're in August, it's 2nd of August, last month. So I'm now in week number 14 of New York City Marathon training, and it's been a phenomenal week of training. And last month I managed to complete a total of 277 kilometers. Woo! I think it's the most I've ever done. So the speed is picking up. The amount of time I've training is pretty much the same, but obviously as I'm getting quicker, you do more kilometers. That's how it works, doesn't it? But in terms of the marathon training, I've got to give a big shout out to Andy, Forester Dean runner. He completed on Sunday, I think his second marathon. I'll come on to the time that he finished it in, but just give you a bit of background. His first marathon, my understanding, his first marathon was in Gloucester, and at around mile 17 he just completely fell apart and had to walk the rest of the distance. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, but that's my understanding. And he walked, I think he got to the finish, but not a good time for him. And anyway, on Sunday he said he'd been following some of my hints, tips, and ran with a pacer in the Forester Dean, just the two of them, and he had all these bits, pieces. He ran in a time of 3 hours 14 minutes. 3 hours 14, amazing, rock and roll, Andy. Welcome. You're officially, I think, about 60 seconds quicker than me. But then he is considerably younger than me. So well done, great achievement. So it just goes to show, if you do the training, you put in the work and effort, it's called evolution. It just happens, yeah? That's how our bodies are. We use our bodies, we train our bodies, we get better, we get stronger, we get faster, we get fitter. Evolution. As I said in last week's vlog, I'll be talking about helping tips in terms of being a beginner runner. What do we need to do as a beginner? There is a plethora of information everywhere on the social webs, on the internet, there's blogs, there's all sorts of stuff out there, and people professing to be this, that and the other, and some of them are really good and some of them are just, well, out there, yeah, out there. And yeah, so what I'm going to go through is just what worked for me. So I've now been going 2 years, so I'm a relative novice runner. Yes, I may have qualified for Boston in just my second marathon after 6 months of training from the first, but that's beside the point. I still regard myself as a novice, a beginner, and I do remember those first few steps when I started. And oh yes, I do remember those first few steps. So hopefully in terms of what I'm going to talk about now, and will help those of you who are beginners. So if you do know any beginners, or maybe you're a beginner yourself, or you've lost your mojo, maybe you've lost your mojo, you want to get it back, here's a few simple steps to help you. Last week I talked about, if you are an absolute beginner, just go out for a 5-minute run. Just go out from your front door. You don't need to go to a track or anything. Just go out from your front door, run out for a couple of minutes. It might sound like a small amount of time, but believe me, it's worth it. Whatever you do, do not do, if you're an absolute beginner, do not go out for half an hour running. That's probably the worst thing that you could do, unless you're some super fit guy and you're brilliant and amazing. I'm talking about regular Joes like me, hadn't run ever in our lives, and are complete beginners. At the end of the day, when you're running, you're doing something new to your body that it's not used to, so it needs to slowly evolve and grow and get used to it. So going out for 5 minutes on your first day, so just a couple of minutes out the door running, and I do mean running, yeah, and then a couple of minutes back. You can do that. So that's as a start point, and then maybe the following day or the day after do 10 minutes and just slowly build up. Once you're up to about 20 minutes of continuous running, then you go on to the next step. This now starting to get serious, yeah? Oh, I've got yes. So you're up to 10, 20 minutes of continuous running. You're now getting serious. Here are my tips, and there's only 4. So I call them the Guru Fab 4. So first thing you want to do, tip number one, register for a race somewhere or a run. Put something in your diary, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months from now, something to aim for, and that you're going to run it all the way around, yeah? Whatever distance it may be, whether it's 5k, 10k, half marathon. I wouldn't recommend running a marathon as your first run. I didn't. For me, the first thing I registered for was a half marathon. So how did I train to get to do my first ever half marathon? Which leads me on to tip number 2. Tip number 2 is get yourself a training plan. Now, you don't need to get a professional running coach or anything. You Google the Great Run series for the half marathon, Birmingham half marathon, and on there was training button. Clicked on that, and I just put in the date of when my race was, which I was aiming for, which was a half marathon in the October, and I put in a few variances of when I could do a long run, because obviously as you're building your training for that sort of distance for endurance training, there's one long run a week. So, and you put in what level you're at, whether you're a beginner, novice, expert, all that type of stuff. So you select the day you want to do a long run, and from the date it then planned out what running you need to do. On my training plan, for me it was all about running on time. I mentioned it last week. For me, what worked for me as a beginner was running based on time. So when I went out, I would go out. So if the training plan said 15 minutes, jog, walk, run, or whatever, then I would go out for 15 minutes. It worked for me, and it would start. At first, I thought, well, this isn't really much. You know, it'd be 2 or 3 times a week, and then it would build up. And for me, I think the most was three training runs a week, and it would slowly build up each week. And then before I knew it, I think the longest training run that I'd done, I ran for about, I think it was an hour and a half. Can't remember exactly what distance I covered. I think it was about 14, 15 kilometres. It took me an hour and a half, an hour 40. And that was my longest run before I took on the half marathon. Half marathon distance being 21.2 kilometres, 13.1 miles, however you want to relate to it. So run on time. So it's about training your feet to be running for a certain amount of time. Does that make sense? Yeah? So rather than running a particular distance, because you can put a lot of pressure, I need to get out there, do 4 kilometres, 5 kilometres, and you're just not feeling it. Whereas if you go out for time and effort, it tends to feel, well, for me it worked a lot better that way. So that leads me on to tip number 3. Like that? Number 3. So number 3, after you've done your run, I highly recommend doing post-run stretches. Please, I cannot implore you enough. Do post-run stretches. Again, there's all sorts of information on the interwebs looking at different types of post-run stretches. Now these are what we call static stretches, and interestingly enough for me, I don't do stretches before any training runs. As a beginner, I have to say, as a beginner, when I go out running, I'm not doing any sprints or splits or hills or anything like that, so I don't need to warm up. I'm warming up as I'm starting my run. But in terms of the cool down, when you finish your run, I really do recommend doing the post-run stretches. These are the things that help you reduce the risk of getting any injuries, and also help stretch out the muscles, because when you've been out running, apparently they contract. So, you know, so you need to do some post-run stretches to stretch them out and and then feel really good, ready for the next training. So we now move on to tip number 4. My tip number 4 is doing cross training. And what I mean by that is doing physical exercise that is not running. For me, I used to do rowing, spin classes, stuff in the gym that would get my heartbeat going. I highly recommend spin classes because it's exercising different sets of muscles when you're on the bike, and it really gets the heart pumping, and it's great for building up the fitness level. Rowing as well, if you do some hard rowing, yeah, that is excellent for getting the heartbeat going and all that type of stuff. Mix that in, and some of the training plans, from what I recall, it might have been on the one that I had, but mix it in, have some cross training. But the key thing as a runner, as I said, following the training plan, you shouldn't be out there more than 3 times a week. So that's my 4 tips to those who are thinking of beginning as running or want to restart again or get into it. And never underestimate doing the small little things, because as they often say, as the phrase goes, it's the little things that make a big difference. Looking at all types of other things to help us get moving and grooving. And I feel a song coming on. Oh, I don't know what song is coming. But all I can say is thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And to all of you out there, I really do appreciate all the comments, likes, feedback. So you can comment down here, the thumbs up, like, subscribe, do all sorts of stuff. And if you do find this useful and think it'd be really good for someone to see it, feel free to share the link. For me, it's all about enjoyment and having fun and being happy. So maybe that's one of the topics I'll talk about next week. Attitude. It's the little things that make the big difference. So we're going to have a little jig, I think, to see us off. What do you think? Which song should we go for? Let's go! Have you guessed what it is yet? Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. You can all go now. Resume. Get back out there, and remember, wherever you are, whatever you do, keep